Hey guys, what's going on and welcome back. Today you're going to learn how to create this super simple, beginner-friendly, but really cool n8n workflow, which essentially analyzes on a daily basis all the top 100 YouTube shorts on your predefined niche. So in my case, I'm predefining to scrape the content based on n8n search query. So again, if you want to search something like maybe AI or tech, all you're going to do is just go to this node right here and essentially change the n8n to whatever the topic or content you are focusing on. But before I dive into explaining the entire workflow and how it works, let me just kind of break it down exactly who is it really good for. So this can be used either for content creators. So if you're a content creator who does daily content and YouTube shorts, so it can be good for content creators, for marketing teams, for trend researchers if you're analyzing data on the latest YouTube shorts and trends, and also for social media managers, because obviously if you're working in social media, you always need to keep up with the latest trends on YouTube, TikTok, and etc. And as always, this entire JSON template can be downloaded for absolutely free, so make sure to check out below the video in the description box. There's going to be a link to download this entire JSON template. And once you do, just go to your n8n and click on these three dots right here. And once you do, just click on import from file, and you will basically get essentially the same thing that you're seeing on my screen right now. And the only things you will need to plug in would be your YouTube APIs. Again, you can get the YouTube APIs from Google Cloud Console. I do believe I have a separate video on YouTube scraping where I cover how to do those and how to generate API keys and plug and play that into your n8n. So make sure to check out my channel, subscribe, and I will be linking that video as well within this video. And the second thing you need your OpenAI credentials. If you don't have it, essentially go to OpenAI, then to API console, generate API keys, and add them to your credentials right here. So go to the model node right here, and then you go click on create new credential, and the API key you got from OpenAI's API platform, just copy paste in here, and you're gonna be good to go. All right, now, so since we covered the basics, let's now go through the entire workflow and let me explain you how it works behind the scenes. So the first node, we have the daily trigger, and essentially it triggers the workflow every day, and the interval is every 9 hours. But again, you can set it to specific times that you want it to be triggered. So once that is done, we are going to the YouTube's API, and we are achieving that through using the HTTP node, which then calls the YouTube API using the get method. Then essentially we are filtering the results by a few options, and in this case max results we're limiting to 100 shorts max. Then we're ordering everything by view count, meaning that the results we're going to be getting is based on, first of all, we're going to be getting the shorts that are the highest in terms of the views, and then it's going to go down based on the views. And then the Q essentially is a query, and query is a search term that you want to focus on for content. In my case, it's n8n. But for example, if you want to focus on something like something general like AI, so simply delete the n8n and type in AI, or you can mix and match them, so it can be AI and tech right here. So the way it works, like you would go to YouTube and search for something like n8n, and essentially that's kind of a similar way how it works in this node right here. So since I'm doing n8n, I'm going to delete this all back and replace it back to n8n. And the type is video, and the duration, we are essentially making sure that we are pulling only shorts. We don't want to make we don't want to pull any long form videos, so we are filtering out only the shorts. And then we're making sure that we have a published date, meaning that we only want to have shorts that were published after a certain date, because we don't want to pull shorts that were published, for example, 6-8 months or 2024, for example. And other one, super important one, is the region code. So we only want to focus on the content that was uploaded within the US. We don't want to pull anything worldwide, because again, we want to focus on the US and on a specific audience. But again, if you're operating in Europe or a specific country, you can change this to something like, instead of US, you can do something like EU, which would be, in your case, European Union. But again, in my case, it's US. So I'm going to delete this and again, put it back with the US like this. And same thing for this one right here. So relevance language, meaning that we only want content that is English. But again, if you are in Europe, for example, I don't know, France or something, you can change it to French or whatever the language that is used in your country. And this one is super important one. Once you generate your API keys through Google's Cloud Console for the YouTube API, once you generate the API, essentially this is the value you're going to copy paste in, because if you don't, you won't be able to access the YouTube's API. Cool. So once we're done with pulling the data from YouTube's API, we are sending that data to a custom JS node, which essentially will be analyzing the daily patterns for the API's code. And in simple terms, we're breaking down everything into a constant. Okay, so we're defining JavaScript constants. Okay, or in simple terms, those are sort of a variables that don't change over time. And those are total videos, or how many videos we're pulling, keywords, hashtags, channels, and stuff like that. And then we are essentially returning that in a form of analyzed data or JSON format. Because agents work the best with the JSON format. So once we transform all of that, all of those findings and the data, then we're going to be sending that to aiagent, which will be acting as our AI trend analyst. All right. So if we open up the aiagent node and expand this a little bit more like this, we're predefining a simple prompt. All right. So just kind of give a direction to aiagent what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to act. And then we are feeding it the data from API, from the JS code node, and etc. And we're plugging that in using the variables or expressions, right? So if you're a beginner, the way expressions work, you're just going to put them into double curly braces, and you're going to do something like $JSON dot, and then you're going to feed the data from whichever the node is relevant, or from whichever the node the data is flowing from. So the data we're feeding to our agent is essentially the date, total videos analyzed. Again, all this is coming from the JS node, then the top keywords, and then we are mapping through the keywords and just doing some basic map filtering using JavaScript. And then we're doing something similar with the hashtags, channels, and etc. Right? And then we are explaining to the AI model that it must, absolutely must, return all the data in a JSON format, and with this specific form right here that we're defining for the AI agent. And once AI agent is done with analyzing the data, it's going to send it off to the next node, which in this case is another custom JS node, right? And this JS node essentially is sort of preparing all of the data that it's receiving from AI agent into a format that the Google Spreadsheet is expecting, right? Because if we don't define this, the format will mismatch with whatever is on the spreadsheet, because spreadsheet is defined with specific columns and rows. So if we are not formatting data in that format, we're going to have a n8n error, because there will be a mismatch between the data. So here we have essentially report date generated at or what time, trend summary, top topics, and stuff like that. And let me now open up the actual spreadsheet. So this is going to be the last node where we are logging all of the final output data. So if I open this one up right here, and if I open the actual spreadsheet, and it looks like this. So if you look at the top columns here, we have generated ad, trend summary, top topics. And if we go back to the JS node, we're going to see the same constant variables being defined right here, right? So that's how we are formatting the data that the spreadsheet is expecting. And if we look at the output that we have on the spreadsheet, so generated at, again, it's pretty straightforward. It's just the time when the report was ran or workflow was generated. And then we have these ones, which are pretty cool. So the first one is trend summary. Essentially, all the data that a agent received, it sort of summarized it in a clear and concise way, essentially explaining all the trends based on the top 100 videos that it analyzed. Then we have a top topics. So here it gives you a breakdown of the top topics based on the 100 videos. Then it gives you a recommended hashtags, which is pretty awesome, because again, it's really complicated and time consuming to find the right hashtags. So it's really cool that we have suggestions based on these videos. And then we essentially have content opportunities, which is pretty cool, right? Because here a agent is suggesting what kind of content direction you should be taking based on these findings. And then we have a title formals, or also you can call it a hook ideas. So here, earn XYZ doing an automation type. Here you can plug in the whatever automation type you're focusing on or the content you're doing, and then it's giving you the hashtags to be attached within the caption. So these are sort of hook structures that you should be testing and A/B testing for your shorts. Then it's going to give you a emerging trends, so monetization, focused content, featuring budget automation hacks. Okay, so there's a lot of automations that are focusing on invoicing and stuff like that. So again, it's giving you a direction based on these trends. Then this one is also a super cool one. So it gives you actionable insights, meaning that on all the data that a agent received and analyzed, it's going to give you a actionable insights that you should be trying out. So for example, capitalize on n8n growing interest by showcasing task-specific bots and AI agents. Okay, so that's pretty accurate because n8n is really trending for AI agents and bots. So there's a lot of actual valid data in here that is suggesting. Currently, we are not exactly pulling the top keywords because we haven't defined that in the JS node or instructed AI agent to do so. So essentially, that's how the entire workflow works in a summary. So now let's go back to n8n and actually try to run the flow again. So the way it's going to work, I'm going to click on execute workflow. So this is the way we're going to be executing workflows manually in n8n. So I'm going to click on execute. Now it's going to run and it's going to do the whole thing. It's going to analyze, send it to OpenAI. So the data already went through. So my case seems like we've hit the limit for our OpenAI APIs. I think so. Yeah, it is. So what I'm going to do in this case, I'm just gonna detach this one like this, okay, for now. And I'm gonna add the other one. I'm gonna add Cloud, okay? So I think this one should be working fine. And that's good to go. And that should work just as fine as the OpenAI one. So let me just save that. And let's try to rerun that again. Now we should be good. Okay, so that's good to go. So here everything went successfully. AI was able to analyze the trends, send it to the JS node to clean up and reformat it for the spreadsheet right here. And data was successfully sent to spreadsheet and everything was logged in here. And here, if we look at the spreadsheet, we can see the data that just got logged today right now. So again, I think that's a pretty cool workflow to have as a beginner as well. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can learn. You kind of see how things are flowing and also just kind of getting into more complex advanced topics like JS nodes and how to parse and clean up the data in a sense. And if you have any questions or if you want me to drop a specific course maybe on how to create custom codes or how to find the best JavaScript code for your workflows, let me know down in the comments and I'll create a video on that as well. And don't forget to download this entire JSON template for free because it's going to be available below the video in the description box. And if you did enjoy the video, as always, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.